Yeah, certainly I think the top end of the draft looks very talented. Maybe some one or two standouts like there is every year, but in the majority of the first round are really talented players. They're probably a little bit more even once it gets past the first 3 or 4, and you can take that into consideration when you're making selections. There seems to have been a perception that the pool thins out after a certain number of selections. The reality is that that's probably the case most years, but as you'll find, given that we're all picking out of the same pool, there'll be players that are selected later on in drafts that mature and improve and go on to play a lot of AFL footy.
The West Coast Eagles have traded their first pick in next month's National Draft in a bid to block Fremantle from signing Brisbane's Elliott Yeo. The Eagles handed Collingwood pick 6 for the Magpies pick 11 as part of a deal that will deliver Yeo to West Coast.
What we looked at, and people probably need to understand, because I think there's been a perception that we made the decision with maybe particular players in mind. Given the nature of the draft, you can never really make a decision with individuals in mind unless you have pick 1. But we did see a group of players in that area that we thought were very, very even, some bringing slightly different attributes to the next one. We were comfortable, given the list of players we had, that we were able to do that deal, and it would still offer us a really good opportunity to draft a quality player in the first round, and also give us a further opportunity to have another selection in the second round and potentially draft a really good player there, as well as getting Elliott in, which was a prime focus for us.
Tunbridge again, held a bounce, it bounces high and it bounces straight. Tunbridge now has his first goal in the AFL.
When we lead into the rookie draft, we always reassess after the national draft. We reassess for a few reasons. One is to take into account what we've already selected in the national draft, which may have affected the list balance in certain areas. We also go back and have a look because there may be a player that we looked at quite high in the national draft in terms of the relative selection of where they'll come into play in the rookies, and you think that presents a further opportunity. And you're also looking at it then if you think that the players are very even from an overall list balance point of view. So the same rules apply, but you just take into account where we've gone in the national draft and add that into the mix.
Come down to a couple of guys yet. Sheed's been mentioned.
Yeah, it's something that I've got to really sit back and let the guys who've been doing all the work all year, as long as it fits into some of my thoughts on players, I've got to really let them run that show. Yeah.
It's good that Adam's been really clear since he came in. He's spoken to us about his philosophy of how he wants the game played and how he believes that the players should play the game. He's not tried to influence us in any way at all, and we've tried to keep him in the loop and bring him up to date with what we're doing. So I think it's worked well for each other so far. Obviously he's got many things on his plate coming into the footy club straight away and pre-season training starting, but I think we've been able to work well with each other and make sure we're on the same page as we go into the national draft.